going to call us all to order. This is the regularly scheduled meeting of the Salem-Keizer School Board at Support Services Center, Room 2, 2575 Commercial Street Southeast, Salem, Oregon. It is June 13th, 2017 at 6 p.m. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Tonight we have the North Salem High School Junior ROTC. Vikings will be leading the Pledge of Allegiance and the presentation of the colors.
A two, halt, left, face. Would you please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Light, face. Forward, march. A two, halt, left, face, array, us.
Thank you. Christy, can you call the roll?
Chuck Lee,
Here.
Rick Kimball,
Present.
Nancy McMorris Audix,
Here.
Paul Kylo,
Here.
Chris Brantley,
Here.
Marty Hyen,
Thank you. There are no agenda modifications, so
I'm
the
not here.
agenda will be, what? Jim Green?
I'm sorry, Mr.
It's
Jim
okay, it's your
Green.
last meeting. We'll let it
My
slide
last
this
meeting.
time.
It seemed like a small board, but I wasn't paying close enough attention.
I didn't have my paper out.
The next thing on the agenda is Spotlight on Success.
Good evening. The first spotlights will be presented, well, actually several of the spotlights will be presented by Director Ramirez, our high school level director.
Just a slight adjustment here. If I can call up the North Salem High School JROTC and the Veneer Club up to the front, that would be great. I don't know that this is on. Is this mic on?
Here, it's on.
Is it on? Doesn't seem that it's picking me up.
Yeah, you're good.
I'm on? Okay.
Well,
Congratulations to the North Salem High School JROTC Lady Vikings and Veneer Platoon on their recent success at the National High School Drill Team Championships in Daytona Beach, Florida. The competition took place May 7th, 2017. This was the Lady Vikings' 5th consecutive year at the Nationals and the Veneer Platoon's 3rd trip. 27 teams competed and the Lady Vikings won 4 trophies, including 2nd place overall. They finished 4th in inspection, 6th in regulation drill, 5th in color guard, and 2nd in exhibition drill. The team's commander, Cadet Battalion Command Sergeant Major Anna Garibay, finished 5th among commanders. Qualifying for the master's level was the Lady Vikings' main goal for the 2016-17. Their national runner-up standing moves them into the master's level for 2017 and 18. North Salem's Veneer Platoon brought home a 3rd place trophy in color guard and placed 11th in the arm overall competition. Their color guard performance was one of the best seen all weekend. According to retired Lieutenant Colonel Dwight E. Morris, the North Salem High School JROTC Senior Army Instructor, the Lady Vikings and the Veneer Platoon have built a solid foundation for a top finish in next year's competition. Congratulations. Great job. Taylor Gibson, can you come forward? It's a lot of weight holding her down forward here. Let me read you why she has all those medals. Taylor Gibson is a sophomore at North Salem High School. She has proven herself to be one of the foremost precision shooters in the country. The 2017 Air National Rifle Championship was held March 23rd through 25th at the South Civilian Marksmanship Competition Center in Anniston, Alabama. A group of 220 skilled junior sporter and precision class air rifle marksmen in the Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marine Corps JROTC programs competed. Taylor set an Army national record with a score of 597 out of a possible 600 to win the gold medal. She also set a new personal record. It was the first time winning the ROTC National Championship match. Taylor began competing for North Salem's ROTC precision shooting team as an 8th grader at Parrish Middle School. There she set a kneeling national record in the air rifle as a 13-year-old. Despite Taylor's rapidly growing resume, she remains humble. She says that being part of the supportive family is a major plus. Her younger sister Cameron is also a nationally accomplished shooter. 39 colleges offer scholarships in this NCAA-sanctioned sport. Taylor is well aware that her shooting ability will likely translate into scholarship offers and knows that it will not be there without good grades. She is a serious student and takes honors classes. Congratulations on your gold medal.
Dangle all the way across.
Dangle, dangle, there you go.
One of them's a silver medal from the Junior Olympics.
Well done. I can call up Troy Walker. Tic-tac-toe for North Salem here. Third in a row. North Salem High School track and field coach Troy Walker was selected as the Oregon Coaches Athletic Association Assistant Coach of the Year. Troy is an assistant coach and head jumps and vaults coach at North. He has coached 2 state champions and yearly state qualifiers in the last 10 years. He is a weight training teacher at North and serves as the defensive coordinator for the football team. In track, he was selected as the league assistant coach of the year in 2008, and in 2015 won that award again for football. This 2016-17 year was a huge one for Troy, as he is the founder and key organizer of a committee to renovate North's weight room into a state-of-the-art community fitness center. This year, the committee raised $65,000, which was used to add new flooring, paint, and weight training equipment. Troy worked toward this goal for the last 5 years to make it all come together. Another comment here is he is a kid magnet who loves his athletes, evidenced by the many who stay in touch with him for many years after they graduate, including several who are now coaching for him as assistant jumps and vaults coach. Troy is a role model of excellence, sportsmanship, and class, which make him an excellent choice for this award. Congratulations. West Salem, if you can come forward. West Salem students. I'm calling up front Alexa Montgomery, Marcella Cross, Emma Fagan, Sophia Hawley, and team mentor Victoria Moreland. West Salem High School students Alexa Montgomery, Marcella Cross, Emma Fagan, and Sophia Hawley competed in the North America's 25th annual Toshiba National Science Teachers Association Explore a Vision program, the world's largest K-12 science competition. Their team was led by science teacher Michael Lambert and Victoria Moreland, Aspire volunteer. On May 2nd, it was announced that they had won first place in the competition. The team of sophomores and juniors saw the exploding lithium-ion batteries in phones, laptops, and other increasingly common handheld devices and mobile technologies as a major problem. The problem comes from a buildup of lithium in the batteries, which can produce an excess of heat in the battery and cause explosions. As a solution, they invented the Q-Safe battery, a new kind of battery which uses acoustic waves, a specific kind of sound wave, to break up lithium before it can build up for dangerous levels. For the competition, the West team competed against more than 5,000 teams from the United States and Canada. They are among 24 teams that won regional titles and then selected as national winners in the 8 age groups. In addition to each student winning a $10,000 savings bond, the team traveled to Washington, D.C. They presented their prototype to members of Congress, met with their representatives, celebrated at a banquet, got the chance to go on morning shows across the U.S. with Bill Nye, and had the opportunity to explore the country's capital. Congratulations.
Right, our next spotlights will be presented by Mary Lou Boderman, our coordinator of our fabulous music programs in Salem-Keizer School District.
Good evening. This year marked the 31st year of the OSAA State Music Championships. And during that time, Salem-Keizer students have been awarded more championships than all other 6A school districts combined. This is an accomplishment that demonstrates the outstanding teaching that is taking place throughout our district, not only at the high school level, but at the middle school level as well, and begins in our elementary schools where all of our students are taught and trained by music specialists beginning in kindergarten. Tonight, we want to honor and congratulate our fabulous music students and staff and give some of the highlights from their very, very busy year. We'll begin by recognizing first place winners in middle school competitions. So the Best of the Northwest Regional Choir Competition, first place went to Walker Middle School, and that's directed by Becca Holland. Becca, if you'd come forward. No, you're good.
Yeah,
Great. Okay, the Pleasant Hill Jazz Festival. At the Pleasant Hill Jazz Festival, taking first place in the junior high vocal jazz division was Judson Middle School, directed by David Loney, and first place in the instrumental division, Judson Middle School as well, and their jazz band is directed by Matt Palasic. David was not able to be here, but Matt is, and I might mention at this point in time, at the end of this school year, Matt will be retiring with over 30 years as a music educator, finishing the last 20 years here in Salem-Keizer. Thank you, Matt. And at the Mount Hood Northwest Orchestra Festival, first place went to Crossler Advanced Orchestra, directed by Julie Runquist. And now on to high school competitions. The Oregon Music Education Association Ensemble State Competition. There were 6 ensembles competing from Salem-Keizer, and they were representing McNary High School, Sprague, and West Salem. And students from from those schools medaled in the competition. But we also had a state championship group, and we'd like to introduce those to you now. And that is the West Salem Brass Sextet. They're directed by Todd Zimbelman, and I believe we have some of those students here tonight. So if they would come up. In that group, Zach Glazer, Zach Barrows, Janessa Hetwer, Esteban Rivera, Brendan Fahey, and Cameron Roche. Great job, but stay right there because I'm not done with West Salem Instrumental, okay? The West Salem Marching Band had a great fall season. They're directed by Todd Zimbelman and Assistant Director James Newekis. The West Marching Band took first place at all 4 competitions in which they competed, and at the end of the season, they were named grand champions at the NWAPA Regional Championships. Congratulations. Clackamas Jazz Festival, placing first in the vocal jazz division, West Salem High School Jazz Choir, known as Soundscape, and they're directed by Kimberly McConnell. "27 of our students, representing 5 of our high schools, placed at the OSAA State Championships for solo music. 8 of those students were named champions, and we have some of those students here tonight. Placing first in mezzo voice, Phoebe Jacobs from West Salem, bassoon, Sam Roten, West Salem, French horn, Janessa Hetwer from West, low saxophone, Jonathan Evans from West, Ty Bruin from West placed first in timpani, Zach Glazer from West first in trombone, Travis Scherer from West placed first in cello, and from Sprague High School placing first, Damon Zavala. If you'd come forward, please.
Nancy, they're asking you to hurry it along. They have finals tomorrow. No, you don't. You're done. You're graduating. You're all done.
You came back after.
Nice try, Jim.
Congratulations. Salem-Keizer did well again at this year's OSAA Large Group Music Championships. 3 of the 4 state titles went to Salem-Keizer schools, and out of the 19 total trophies that were awarded, 13 went to Salem-Keizer. Here are this year's champions. First place in 6A choir went to Sprague High School, directed by Dr. David Brown. Placing first in the full symphony orchestra division was West Salem High School, co-directed by Todd Zimbelman and George Thompson. This is the 4th year in a row for this group. And placing first in the 6A band division, West Salem High School, directed by Todd Zimbelman, and this is their 8th consecutive championship. Congratulations. The Oregon Symphony Association in Salem annually awards a Music Educator of the Year award. This year's selection was so difficult that they chose to recognize 3 recipients as Music Educators of the Year. They are Dr. David Brown, who is the Director of Choirs at Sprague High School, George Thompson, who directs orchestras at West Salem, and Andy Thomas, who directs the Whitaker Choirs. Would you please congratulate them? We could all be proud of our exceptional music teachers and talented students and applaud them all for their outstanding performances this year. They exemplify the characteristics of strong work ethic, self-discipline, mutual respect, as well as the artistic values that result from a significant music education. Congratulations.
Our next spotlights will be presented by Karina Lee, the Executive Director of Salem-Keizer Education Foundation.
Good evening. I would like to invite up front with Chair McMorris Audix, the principal of Yoshikai Elementary, Zan Payne, and 3 volunteers of the month, all from Yoshikai Elementary, Rebecca Saline, Linda Lujan, and Wendy Estelle. Rebecca, Linda, and Wendy have been selected as the Volunteers of the Month for June. These volunteers were nominated by the entire Yoshikai Elementary staff. Staff describes them as delightful individuals who have made a significant impact in the success of Yoshikai Elementary. Rebecca Saline volunteers in a first-grade classroom every single day. She checks in homework, assembles new book packets for students, and does various jobs in the classroom to support instruction. Linda volunteers in a kindergarten room, reading to students and helping with sight words and literacy skills. Wendy has been an active volunteer for several years. In addition to helping in several primary classrooms, she has recruited other parents for material preparation, popcorn making, and other class or event-specific items. Recently, Wendy made skirts for the kindergarten children to wear in a performance to honor their mothers. Yoshikai Elementary staff are thankful for these exceptional volunteers and appreciate the time they spend for the success of all Yoshikai students. Thank you and congratulations.
Our last spotlights will be presented by Jay Remy, our Communications Director.
Thank you, Superintendent Perry. Chair McMorris Audix, members of the board, if I could get Carla Canita with our Community Transitions Program to come forward along with Brandy Berry from FYE. Our business partner of the month for June is FYE, also known as For Your Entertainment. FYE was nominated by Carla Canita for the support they provide to the Community Transition Program students. Carla remarked that FYE staff, led by store manager Kathy Loney and assistant manager Brandy Berry, are a great group of people to work with our students. FYE has been supporting the Community Transitions Employment Training Program since 2007. They are giving our students real-world work experiences in their store. The students are able to practice merchandising, price changes, stocking, labeling new items, along with customer service skills. They consistently give students encouragement and work with each student to achieve their goals. Kathy is always trying to challenge the students to be the best they can be. She has recently hired 2 students who have shown a love for the business and have reached their work goals. Thank you for your support of our students and the Salem-Keizer community, and congratulations to For Your Entertainment, also known as FYE, as our business partner of the month. Okay, and our community partner of the month is the Southeast-Keizer Neighborhood Association. So if Weddell Elementary Principal Wendy Roberts could come forward, along with the members of the Southeast-Keizer Neighborhood Association. We have Ken Gerloff, Colleen and Bob Bush, Hirsch and Marianne Sangster, and Keizer City Councilor Laura Reed, and Roger Corser. Our community partner of the month is the Southeast-Keizer Neighborhood Association. Weddell Elementary would like to recognize them as a new and very involved community partner. Colleen Bush, Vice Chair of SECNA, extended an invitation to Principal Wendy Roberts to attend their monthly meeting. Recognizing this as an opportunity to establish a partnership with the Weddell community, Wendy graciously accepted. Since September, there's been a reciprocal relationship where Weddell's Community School Outreach Coordinator has attended some monthly SECNA meetings, and Colleen and Chair Ken Gerloff have attended some of Weddell's monthly Parent Club meetings. Weddell is grateful for SECNA's initiative to reach out to them. Colleen has become a regular volunteer in the school. She has coordinated local businesses to provide Weddell's monthly reading incentive treats for their students, and that's a variety of businesses there. She's connected McNary students with Weddell students for tutoring opportunities, participated in Weddell's School Pennies for Patients drive, posted pictures from Weddell's Wolves parties on SECNA's Facebook page, which resulted in an email congratulations to the students from the mayor, Kathy Clark. Weddell Elementary staff and students appreciate Southeast-Keizer Neighborhood Association's involvement and partnering spirit, and congratulations as our community partner of the month for June. Thank you.
Go Keizer.
All right, we have one more set of spotlights that is going to be presented by Director Kylo.
Tonight, we are shining the spotlight on 3 board members that have given their time, commitment, talent to the school board and our community. Rick Kimball is completing his 12th year of service, and Nancy McMorris Audix and Chris Brantley completing their 8th year of service, and they put up with me for 4 years as we all were elected together. Each of you as elected officials have represented our students, staff, and community with integrity and passion in your roles. You are influential in helping to refocus the roles of the board on student achievement for all students. You were instrumental in taking this school board to a new level. As a board, you changed your focus from day-to-day operations to high-level governance that focused on results for students. When it was time to tackle equity, you found ways that made this work, that made sense, and that were within the policy governance, and we all became learners in the process. You provided strong and ongoing support to not only the superintendent and her executive team, but also to staff. You made difficult decisions during the toughest of budget reductions with integrity and resolve in making the best decisions possible. This is also true for the times when economic times were better and the district had funds to reinvest in students. As individual board members, you championed the community voice in the boardroom and held respectful dialogue with your colleagues. You listened as community members saw you in the grocery store or came before the board to testify. You always sought solutions that were best for students and the district in every interaction. You represented the district in the best possible light to the constituents. Your efforts have made a difference to our students. Each of you will be missed for your passion and persistence, and the persistence you brought to your role as a board member, and your belief in the success of each student in the Salem-Keizer School District. Mr. Brandt. For you. Let me read this so everyone can hear it. Hopefully I can see it. Whereas Chris Brantley has given faithful service as a member of the Salem-Keizer School District Board of Directors from 2009 through 2017, and he served as a school board representative on community committees, including the Salem-Keizer Education Foundation, Higher Education Advisory Council, Social Justice Organizing Committee, Oregon Teacher Standards and Practices Commission, Stand for Children, Willamette Educational Service District Budget Committee, Citizen Bond Oversight Committee, and Career and Technical Education. And whereas he was instrumental in the superintendent search, with the results being quality leadership for the district, and he has been a champion and supporter of the superintendent. And whereas he oversaw the implementation of the 2008 bond for $242 million, resulting in the repair and renovation of all schools and the opening of 4 new schools. And whereas he was instrumental in the development of a groundbreaking public-private partnership resulting in the Career Technical Education Center. And whereas he has maintained unwavering support of public education throughout his tenure and has volunteered thousands of unselfish hours to provide the best possible education for all of Salem-Keizer's 41,000 students. And whereas he has continually advocated educational excellence, equity, and fiscal responsibility. And whereas he has advocated for a well-rounded, engaging education for all students. And whereas he has brought integrity, insight, and firm resolve to all these responsibilities. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the School District 24J, Marion County, Oregon, that the outstanding service of Chris Brantley to the district is recognized and appreciated, and further, that his contribution to the deliberation of the board will be sorely missed, and be it further resolved that the Salem-Keizer School Board extends its best wishes to Chris Brantley. Two words. Nice
2
try.
words.
Yeah, I'm waiting for that orange light to go on. Whereas Rick Kimball has given faithful service as a member of the Salem-Keizer School Board District Board of Directors from 2005 through 2017, and whereas he served as chairperson of the school board in 2007-8, 2010-11, 2011-12, 2014-15, and 2015-16, and vice chairperson in 2005-6 and 2012-13. And whereas he has served as a school board representative on community committees, including the Council of Governments, Willamette Education Service District Budget Committee, and Salem Chamber of Commerce. And whereas he was instrumental in the superintendent search, with the results being quality leadership for the district, and he has championed and been a supporter of the superintendent. And whereas he was instrumental in the development of a groundbreaking public-private partnership resulting in the Career Technical Education Center. And whereas he worked to pass the largest school bond in the history of Oregon, and he oversaw the implementation of the 2008 bond of $242 million, resulting in the repair and renovation of all schools and the opening of 4 new schools. And whereas he has maintained unwavering support of public education throughout his tenure and has volunteered thousands of unselfish hours to provide the best possible education for all of Salem-Keizer's 41,000 students. And whereas he has continually advocated educational excellence, equality, and fiscal responsibility. And whereas he has advocated for a well-rounded, engaging education for all students. And whereas he has brought integrity, insight, and firm resolve to all of these responsibilities. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Directors of School District 24J, Marion County, Oregon, that the outstanding service of Rick Kimball to the district is recognized and appreciated, and further, that his contribution to the deliberation of the board will be sorely missed, and be it further resolved that the Salem-Keizer School Board extends its best wishes to Rick Kimball. Nancy McMorris-Audix. While Nancy's coming forward, cake is being served and Nancy's sacrificing her piece to someone. It's full of sugar. I know, see. Whereas Nancy McMorris-Audix has given faithful service as a member of the Salem-Keizer School District Board of Directors from 2009 through 2017. And whereas she served as vice chairperson of the school board in 2010-11, 2011-12, and 2014-15, and served as chairperson in 2012-13 and 2016-17. And whereas she served as a school board representative on community committees, including the Oregon School Boards Association, Oregon Educator Benefits Board, Friends of Music, and No Child Left Behind. And whereas she was instrumental in the superintendent search, with the result being quality leadership for the district, and has been a champion and supporter of the superintendent. And whereas she was instrumental in the development of a groundbreaking public-private partnership resulting in the Career and Technical Education Center. And whereas she oversaw the implementation of the 2008 bond of $242 million, resulting in the repair and renovation of all schools and the opening of 4 new schools. And whereas she has maintained unwavering support of public education throughout her tenure and has volunteered thousands of unselfish hours to provide the best possible education for all of Salem-Keizer's 41,000 students. And whereas she has been a leader in our equity work and continually promoted educational excellence and fiscal responsibility. And whereas she has advocated for a well-rounded, engaging education for all students. And whereas she has brought integrity, insight, and firm resolve to all of these responsibilities. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the School District 24J, Marion County, Oregon, that the outstanding service of Nancy McMorris-Audix to the district is recognized and appreciated, and further, that her contributions to the deliberations of the board will be sorely missed. And be it further resolved that the Salem-Keizer School Board extends its best wishes to Nancy McMorris-Audix. Cake is being served. Coming? Okay. It really is being served.
Yeah. So if people are exiting, they can get a piece of
Yeah.
cake, or if they can stay and have cake. Thank you. On to the next spotlight.
Yes, time for the teacher spotlight.
Good evening. I'd like to call up Sue Luthra, principal of Auburn Elementary, who will be coming up with her staff just to highlight some of the work that they've been doing regarding PBIS at Auburn.
Good evening. Make sure I'm working this right. Okay, perfect. The year 2013-14, before I got there, we had a total of 3,834 office behavior referrals. So that meant an average of 22 students came to the office for a behavior issue every day. So when I started, we decided, I had worked with PBIS in a former district, and we had decided to move forward with PBIS. So 3 years later, we have better data, we have better climate, and so what we're going to do is our staff is going to tell you about what was our journey, what did we do in the last 3 years to improve behavior at Auburn Elementary.
And the journey begins. PBIS implementation is hard. And when I say hard, I mean hard. A few of the difficulties that we encountered as a staff was change in mindset from traditional behavior management to positive reinforcement. Some of our staff resist change. Change is difficult. It's hard to change. Also, can you hear me?
No. Now we can.
Hello. Sorry about that. Also, time. Teachers were asking, when are we supposed to teach this? We have all these new standards we have to teach. How is that going to happen? We ended up working as a staff and explicitly teaching behaviors that we expected and wanted. And now it's become an integral part of our curriculum. It works.
This is a list of some of the strategies that we put in place in our first year. This is our third year implementing it. So these are some things just at the beginning that we tried. This list includes things like monthly PBIS meetings, creating a team, and then coming together to meet to talk about our progress and areas to work on. We created new office referrals to understand, kind of unify the staff on what behaviors needed to have more major attention and then what behaviors needed to be more classroom monitored. Astro tickets were huge. They're small blue slips that we handed out to students who portrayed Astro behavior. So those were we are the Astros. So those different letters stood for different character traits that we wanted them to portray in the classroom or in hallways or any area in our school. Those tickets worked for substitutes as well, special tickets for them, and golden awards. I think the next slide even shows more of that. Every Friday we would do a drawing to select students who had put those blue slips into classroom buckets, and we got to celebrate them by letting them fill out stars. And so right now our school is filled with golden stars to celebrate students that are learning the Astro way. And then also taking golden awards down to classrooms, so whole classrooms could celebrate that they were working as a team as well. Some first year things, yeah.
So in year 2, the journey definitely continued, and we definitely did a lot of learning. Some of the things we did during year 2 was we made a PBI's handbook for all staff, classified and licensed, that we went through as part of our summer institute to make sure everybody was being consistent with what was office managed behavior versus classroom managed. We also took our Swiss data, which shows our referrals, and planned proactive events. So when we saw spikes in behavior referrals, we planned events to help with that. We also then added 2 more layers to PBIS. So we did our yellow zone, which are students who have gotten 3 or more major referrals in a year, and then our red zone, which is students who have gotten 6 or more. So we started the check-in, check-out program where students check in every morning with a mentor, and then they receive points throughout the day for appropriate behavior, and then they check out with that mentor. This year we actually had 30 students in the program, and most of them got to graduate, so that was really exciting. We also introduced buddy rooms, which is the step before a student's sent to the office. Teachers were paired with another teacher where they could send a student to refocus and get back on track. And then another major focus we did after looking at our data was changing our routines on the playground and cafeteria, as well as doing a lot of professional development with classified staff on how to manage behavior in a large setting, as well as problem solving things specific to Auburn. For the classroom, we introduced brain breaks and activity breaks, so trying to get more movement throughout the day in the classroom. And then we also used our data for small counseling groups to work on skill building for those students who were receiving referrals. And then we also added the family layer that year, and we came up with a PBIS brochure and letter that we sent home to all families so they knew what our focus was.
We are now in our third year and we've really taken it to the next level. One of the biggest things we've done is improved our celebrations for students in the green zone, or the ones that are doing the right thing. So we started this process by dividing our behavior data team into the green zone and then a red and yellow, and we've collaborated with teachers to come up with some solutions to celebrate these kids. One we have is a football field bulletin board where every day a classroom does not receive a major referral. They get to move 10 yards up the football field, and when they reach the end zone, the teacher can plan a celebration, and they've come up with a lot of creative ways that are at a low cost. They've done recesses, some art projects, and they're just really creative with that. And then our main one that we've done is every 6 weeks, we celebrate every student that hasn't gotten a major referral. And we've done that 3 times this year, and we've teamed up with North Salem High School. Their drama club came in, performed a presentation for us, and tomorrow their JROTC is coming to perform for our whole schools for the kids that have not received a major referral. So those are the 2 big celebrations that we've added to our green zone.
Good evening. Along with some of that stuff, we have repurposed our task room. So along with the buddy room that we talked about earlier, is students will go to a buddy room before they will go up to the office to hopefully reset and go back to class. If not, then they can transition up to our task room where we've added some key things for them to release that stress out and get reset and ready to transition back into the classroom. Our LRC has added a sensory room where kids can go in there and take a sensory break. We have implemented FBAs and individual behavior plans. We meet once a week on Monday mornings to review our current FBAs and individual behavior plans. And a highlight this year also was our PBS parent night. That was a big success. Thank you.
This is an example of an Astro matrix that we, all teachers were required to complete with their students at the beginning of the year so that they understood what each letter of our acronym stood for Auburn Astros. So today, after creating this matrix and encouraging students to remember it throughout the year, we have accomplished a lot of consistency throughout our school, improved climate and culture, a growth mindset, huge growth mindset within the way they interact with others and think about their own learning. And then their behavior is now aligned. We can pick out positive things that they're doing that are immediately tied to the Astro behavior we're looking for, and then that they know our school rules really well.
So we just pulled really quickly a little bit of our data. The green bars are the first year of implementation, so we didn't start using the data system Swiss until January. The blue bars are for last year's referrals per day, per month, and then the orange is actually this year's. And so as you can see, our referral level has definitely gone down, especially starting out at almost 23 referrals per day. And so it's really exciting to see this. It would have been easy to give up on those months where you see spikes, but that is where we really now will in the fall look at and plan for. So our data is really exciting. We are excited to look at it this morning.
So if you just go back one slide, please, Linda, thank you. That's the example of the football. There's some golden award things that we have around the building for ways that they can earn golden awards. We have it explicitly stated of how they can earn those golden awards throughout the building. The top picture that you see is an example of our cafeteria. Since we have 5 lunches, we're a very large school, tracking behavior and success in behavior, we've had to be very creative and very organized. On the next slide, there's an example of the football field that we were talking about. And then there's also an Astro sign there. Right there, that's good. Astro celebration sign there is for the one that we're having tomorrow. And Astro, by the way, we came up with that on our own. Of course, it is our mascot, but A is aware of others, S is safe, T is trustworthy, R is responsible, and O is on task. We have songs and chants. We have a video that we've created with the help of CCTV, which is much better than the iPad version that we created on our own. But hey, it got it out there, and the kids know what our expectations are. And so in conclusion, we just wanted to share some of the things that we've learned over the course of these last 3 years, because we have seen some common themes come out of the work that we have done. We have had to be very committed to this work. It's kind of an all-in sort of thing. And with that comes following through when we tell the kids that we're going to have an Astro assembly, or we tell the kids that we're going to be pulling tickets on Friday. All of those things have to take follow through, and you have to be consistent in it. It can't just be a here or there every now and then kind of thing. The kids need regular, consistent feedback, and they need regular and consistent rewards to know that they're doing what it is that we're wanting them to do, or coaching and mentoring if they're not, to help teach those lagging skills also along the way. We use a lot of data, as you saw throughout our presentation, to determine when we need to be proactive in things. We know that spring is hard. We have seen a spike in this spring already a little bit with some kids that we don't normally have issues with. And if you look at our data, November is a time that we have some struggles. So we put some things in place ahead of time to kind of help with that data too, and help our kids to get through those times. And in those hard times, just persevering, pushing through, not giving up on the system, not giving up on our commitment, and knowing that if we stick with it, we build those relationships with kids, we teach those social lagging skills that they're needing, that we'll all get there together. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I really hope that those teachers and that enthusiasm can get passed on to schools that are starting the process and feeling so overwhelmed. I think it's really helpful to hear how it felt at the beginning and what you see as the rewards. Great presentation. The next thing on our agenda is the budget hearing. So we're going to open the budget hearing. So it's open. Then we will hear from the public, and then we will close the budget hearing. So first thing is comments about the 2017-18 budget. Superintendent Perry?
So I'm just going to make a couple comments. We are not bringing forward any changes between the approved and the budget we're going to ask you to adopt tonight. We still, as you know, are in the legislative session. We have budgeted on $8.1 billion that is coming from the legislature. We at one point thought that might be too high. We now think that might be slightly low, but the current thinking is that it will be $8.2 billion, but they have not factored in for Measure 98 dollars yet. The proposed budget is based on the $8.1 million plus Measure 98 dollars. So in some ways, you could look at it as an $8.2 billion budget. We will just have to get through the legislative process. This gives us a plan for next year. If the money comes in differently, we can always come back to you with a supplemental budget at that point. So no, we think we've got a good plan with the best information we have at the time.
So we will hear from the public. When you come forward, please limit your comments to 3 minutes. If you have copies of materials, give them to Christy at the end of the table. And state your address when you come to the mic, please. John Yoder.
Thank you. I'm John Yoder, 7810 Spring Valley Road Northwest, Salem, Oregon. Superintendent Perry, members of the board. On April 14th, an estimated 1,500 community members gathered at the state capitol steps to show their support for science and science education. Tonight, you see more people who are here tonight to let you know that community values science. As a Salem-Keizer School Board, you are representing the values and vision and expectations of our community. We are supposed to be the public in public education. I'm here to ask you to represent our community values and interests and restore the 2 science program assistants to the budget for next year. I had the opportunity to meet with recently with Deputy Superintendent of Schools Salam Noor to talk about the status of science education in the Salem-Keizer School District, and he shared some of his work with Every Student Succeeds Act, ESSA, and he talked about meaningful consultation, the importance of boards meeting with stakeholders to process and reflect community needs. He talked about the 4 primary commitments that Oregon has to that act. One of the 4 major ones, is to extend the promise of a well-rounded education. In fact, there are indicators and reporting indicators associated with a well-rounded education, which is described as diverse learning opportunities for science, social studies, and other subject areas. Salam has referred to science education in the past at the elementary school level as a moral imperative. I have in my hand the document that was handed out at the Budget Committee hearing, which was a schedule of Chavez, common schedule at elementary school, and if you've had a chance to look at it, I have a hard time believing that this is something that you feel comfortable with or that you think is appropriate or indicative of a well-rounded education. So there's 15 minutes of number corner in the morning and then literacy the entire rest of the morning until lunch. They come back after lunch, and guess what? More literacy for another hour, and then a period of time where they may have some PE, music, media, followed by an hour of math, and then 30 minutes sliver at the end of the day for science, social studies, health, art, or anything else that people feel they have time for. This is not adequate. Yesterday I had the opportunity to visit a non-Title I school, saw a common schedule that had science every day for 30 minutes. That's more appropriate, and it seems to me that's important as we develop kind of a priority around science. I also had an opportunity to visit with Winston Cornwell, Cornwell's Civil Rights and Equal Opportunity Specialist at ODE, who expressed some concerns about differences in schedule and opportunities that our students have in a variety of schools and their potential issues of equity and civil rights. He said, school communities which have extensive literacy strategies, though well-intentioned, substantially reduce the amount of core curriculum instruction students receive due to remediation. This adverse or disparate impact, though unintended, may result in unequal opportunities or discrimination. Strategies of embedding literacy and core curriculum has proven effective in both ensuring equal instruction opportunity and using remediation to eliminate academic deficiencies. We need science elevated as a priority on our strategic plan. We need a common schedule at elementary schools with year-long designated science time. We need a full science year for grades 6 and 7. We ask that you restore the 2 program assistants to the budget for next year to represent the values and interests of our community and to provide science support and leadership in our schools. We need advocates at the district level to help promote science in our schools. Thank you.
Terry Tucker. And then after Terry will be Sally White.
Members of the board and Superintendent Perry. My name is Terry Tucker. I live at 493 Lake Fair Circle North, Keizer, Oregon, 97303. I'm speaking today in support of placing as priority on science and social studies education in the elementary school level. We need to provide more time in the K-5 schedule. As a teacher in a Title I school, the mandated block schedule allows for 2 30-minute blocks for science, social studies, art, health, and other non-core studies. In the last 2 years, it seems that students are supposed to get their science through the reading program. Reading about science is not doing science. Our students come to us with questioning, curious minds, and we should be giving them the skills to find answers. Science is a hands-on way to connect the skills from the core units of reading, writing, and mathematics. Our district has shared higher education or graduation rates for high school students that were engaged in their learning. Elementary students need engagement in their learning also. Elementary, along with middle school, is the time to capture and motivate our students to science studies. A retired second grade teacher attended the recent graduation of her students that she taught 10 years ago. The student shared with her the memories of making mummified carrots and then going on a field trip to the art museum to see Egyptian art and mummies. One senior still carries a passion for Egyptian studies. The science and social studies made a lasting connection. It is time to engage our students. Make science and social studies a priority in our Salem-Keizer elementary classrooms.
Good evening, board members. Good evening, board members and Superintendent Christie. My name is Sally White, and I live at 3190 Wallace Road Northwest. The level of support for science that is commonly found in European countries far surpasses that which is available in Salem-Keizer. Our students deserve a world-class science education. A British principal once told me that in her schools, all school science teachers have lab assistants as well as a well-organized science resource center to manage their materials. In Salem-Keizer, this should happen at all levels, but most particularly at the elementary school level. Most teachers of the sciences at the middle or high school level have a passion and the education to be proficient at what they do. As a middle school science teacher, now retired from Salem-Keizer, I can attest to the fact that the range of science proficiency that incoming students possess is at a curve skewed to the unproficient side. An elementary teacher's educational background is more aligned with how-to rather than in-depth content. This is because an elementary school teacher is expected to teach all curriculum areas, these can all be embedded in science, social studies, the arts, and music. Science teachers, as many professionals, have areas in which they excel. Instead of an administrative position that tries to meet the needs of all those who are supposed to serve at one of these levels, why not go back to the in-building science instructor model? Maybe this will be down the road, but keep thinking about it. Many other school districts across the nation are rethinking this mode of science education and implementing it. Instead of just cutting positions, why not rethink them? There are teams of teachers within the district right now who use this model with much success. Using this model, a given set of topics is repeated from level to level. Each time the material is revisited, more depth is added, linking new concepts to the learning that has already taken place. Science is, by its very nature, a hands-on activity, not something to be read about. And to accomplish this with large groups of students present in our schools requires a solid basis of support so that teachers can focus on the art of effective teaching rather than the lockstep, boxed-in, heavily tested approach that is happening now. Please make your budget decisions based on the positive inclusion of a strong science program which will positively benefit our students and our community now and in the future. Thank you.
Phil Carver, then Linda Walmark.
Board members, Superintendent Perry. My name is Phil Carver, and I live at 1007 Newport Road, Southeast Salem 97306. I'm here to support adding back the 2 science PAs and to support in the future having full-year curriculum for science in the middle schools. Science is under attack in our society, and it goes beyond the attacks on biological evolution, which has been under attack for many years. Right now, climate science, a well-established science, is under attack. I worked for the Oregon Department of Energy and the Public Utility Commission as one of the lead people on climate science since 1990, and I retired in March of this year. And I have a PhD in natural resource economics, and I focused on following the science of climate change for 27 years. And I can tell you the science is absolutely solid. It is more solid than plate tectonics. And yet it is being attacked by a national group that has put out this a series of lies why scientists disagree about global warming. Your science PAs have put out a letter to the middle school and high school science teachers explaining why this material should not be used in the science curriculum. This is propaganda, and National Science Teachers Association has noted so. And so without science PAs, it's unclear how these attacks on science would be addressed in a coordinated way by the district. And so it's important, and just to note, two of the lies in this document is that it says that doubling the concentration of CO2 would only lead to a 1 degree Celsius rise in temperature. We've already had a 1 degree rise in Celsius temperature today with only 400 parts per million rather than 560, which represents a doubling. And it says sea level is not consistently rising. It's definitely consistently rising, more than a foot this century, the last century. And so it's important to have coordination of science education in this time of attacks on science. Thank you very much.
Good evening, Superintendent Perry, board members. My name is Linda Walmark, and I live at 4734 Bradford Loop Southeast, Salem 97302. And I'm here again to speak tonight as a retired Salem-Keizer elementary school teacher. I come to urge you to restore funding for the 2 science specialists in the new budget. No one appreciates the tension and the frustration that's involved in balancing instructional time between all the various different subjects more than an elementary teacher, because we teach it all: reading, writing, math, health, science, art, and it's all important. We are generalists. But very few of us at the elementary level have specialized training in science, and yet science has become an essential skill for survival in the 21st century and beyond, not just as a possible career option, but simply to participate in society and to be a responsible citizen in making the collective decisions that can have a profound effect on our society. In the case of the climate change denial propaganda that Dr. Carver just referred to, which has been mailed to every public school, or is being mailed to every public school classroom in the nation, the level of public scientific literacy can literally affect our continued survival. In my final year of teaching, I saw the district adopt a policy of teaching science instruction delivered primarily as a reading lesson, an opportunity to teach the skill of reading nonfiction text. But this is not the essence of science. I play the piano. A person can read books about music history and appreciation, scales and key signatures, and yet not be able to perform a simple piece of music. And the same is true for science. Scientific understanding is not just a collection of facts. It is about working with materials, experimenting, hypothesizing, testing, analyzing, and communicating. It's a way of thinking and doing, and just reading about it will not teach it. As I said earlier, we elementary school teachers are generalists. The state has adopted new science standards known as the Next Generation Science Standards. Teachers need help in understanding and implementing these standards. Listen to how the standards are described on their website. The NGSS, the Next Generation Science Standards, call for a 3-dimensional approach to K through 12 science instruction. This represents a significant transition from previous state standards. That's why effective implementation demands a great deal of collaboration and patience among states, districts, schools, teachers, and students. This is how Salem-Keizer is going to provide effective implementation, collaboration, and patience, by cutting the specialists whose job it is to do just that. We need their help, especially the elementary teachers. We need those science specialists. So please, again, find someplace else to cut. I appreciate the demands that you must balance, and I appreciate all of your time and all of your efforts. But surely to cut these vital links in providing quality science instruction is in no one's best interest. Please restore funding for the science specialists and support science education to the fullest extent possible. Thank you.
Kyla Golding. Kyla Golding. Perhaps it's Goulding.
Good evening. My name is Kyla Golding at 1640 Saginaw Street South, Salem, Oregon 97302. I am a second grade teacher at Battle Creek Elementary. I want you to imagine for a moment that you are sitting in a classroom and the teacher is explaining how to play football to you. She gives you a list of vocabulary: quarterback, tight end, interception. She explains the rules and shows you diagrams of plays: run an option play, a Hail Mary pass, quarterback sneak. Now imagine learning all these things about football, but never being allowed to play the game. Think about what you miss out on by not playing the game: sportsmanship, teamwork, flexibility when things don't go as planned, the tenacity to stick with something even when it's difficult. All those valuable learning experiences and skill sets. I doubt there's a single person here tonight that would disagree with me that those qualities are far more important and valuable life skills than knowing the rules of football. And yet that is exactly how we are teaching science and social studies in Salem-Keizer. These subjects, along with art, are seen as superfluous to reading, writing, and math. The master schedule at my school gives me 3 30-minute blocks a week total to teach all 3 of these subjects. Every teacher will tell you that the best learning happens when students are motivated and engaged. And what motivates students? Authentic, meaningful learning that can be applied to real-life situations. Education research backs this up again and again. And here is a perfect example of that authentic, meaningful learning. My school is right next to land that the city of Salem is working to turn into a community park. So last year, I invited some people from the Parks Department out to our school. They did an amazing presentation on what they do to help our ecosystem, and we went on a walking field trip through the park land. We saw real-life examples of weathering and erosion, as well as a beaver dam. We learned about the 5-year process for turning the land into a park. The city was gathering input on what citizens wanted in their park, so my students made maps of the land and surveyed each other on what things they wanted in the park. We researched more about the effects of beavers on ecosystems and what can be done to help prevent flooding in the park area. Finally, each student wrote up their own park proposal. They shared why they chose to design their park the way they did and attempted to persuade their classmates to vote for their park. Each student presented their park to the class, and we voted. I sent our top 2 choices to the Parks Department Input Committee. This project integrated science, social studies, reading, writing, math, and speaking in an authentic and engaging manner for my students. But it is not possible to do a project like this within the time frame of our current schedule. And for most teachers, without the support of trained science specialists, such as the PAs, this budget proposes cutting. I want to go back to football for a moment. Let's place a bet on a game. 2 teams will play each other. The first team has been out on the field practicing 3 to 4 times a week, rain or shine. The second team has read a book about football. Raise your hand if you'd like to bet on the second team. That's what I thought. We learn best by doing, and we are not doing science in Salem-Keizer. This needs to change. I urge you to make science, social studies, and art a priority again so that all Salem-Keizer students can thrive as learners. Thank you.
With that, the budget hearing is closed. Next thing on the agenda is audience communication on agenda items only. I have Karina Lee signed up.
Good evening, I'm Karina Lee, here as the Executive Director of the Salem-Keizer Education Foundation. at 233 Commercial Street Northeast, Salem 97301. I am here to also shine a spotlight on behalf of the Education Foundation to 3 fiercely committed, professional, innovative servant leaders who serve children, families, and education in our school district. Director Rick Kimball, Chairperson Nancy McMorris-Audix, and Director Chris Brantley. Because of you, we have led superintendent searches that have brought us inspirational and innovative leadership. Because of you, we have had complex and difficult budget conversations that all bet are never adequate or consistent funding, but are fiscally responsible, faithful to the strategic plan, and most of the time reflective of our community's values. Because of you, our community entrusted us with the largest school bond measure in the state of Oregon, in the history of Oregon. And that provided hundreds of new classrooms and facilities. Because of you, we implemented the first time we had year-round kindergarten. Because of you and your courage and faith and innovation, we have the first and still we think only nationally invested public-private partnership to promote career and technical education with the CTEC Center. Because of you, we have added hundreds of more acronyms to our vocabulary. PWAM, CTE, PBIS. We love them all. Because of you, we have had role models for children and adults alike that demonstrate that community service as an elected school board member is truly an honorable and esteemed legacy. We thank you for your service.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
It was a highlight of my life to serve with all 3 of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Karina. You all are making it tough to get through this. First thing on the action agenda is adoption and appropriation of the 2017-18 budget and resolutions to impose and categorize taxes for the fiscal year 2017-18. We've already had the superintendent give you background on the budget. I have resolutions. I will read them. Remind me, please, am I to read them all together or am I to read them one at a time? I think one at a time.
Yes, there are 4 separate,
That's what I remembered.
but we're not reading all the numbers.
Right. I remembered that for sure. Be it resolved, this is the resolution adopting the budget. Be it resolved that the Board of Directors of the Salem-Keizer School District 24J 32, Marion, Polk Counties, Oregon, hereby adopts the budget for the fiscal year 2017-18 in the sum of $683,020,682, now on file at the district's Executive Administration Office, located at the Lancaster Professional Center, 2450 Lancaster Drive Northeast, Suite 202, Salem, Oregon, 97305. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? Jim, then Chuck, then Chris.
Madam Chair, I have to declare a potential conflict of interest on the budget. I work for the Oregon School Boards Association. This board pays dues to that association, for which my salary may come out of. So I'm declaring a potential conflict of interest.
Chuck?
Excuse me, Madam Chair. I too am declaring a potential conflict of interest. Many of you know I'm associated with the CTEC Center, and it's a public-private partnership. There's money in the budget for the public side of it. There's no money for the private side of it. But in all transparency, I just wanted to clarify that even though I have no economic interest in the budget, I did want to declare a potential conflict of interest. And also, as you know, my wife, Karina, is an employee of the Salem-Keizer Education Foundation. And again, we have no economic interest in the budget, but there are funds in the budget for SCEF. And so I did want to declare a potential conflict of interest.
Chris?
I have no conflict of interest. I am wanting to make a couple comments about our testimony and my feelings about this. I'm going to vote for the budget, but I'm going to do it holding my nose. I totally agree with what I heard tonight, and I really believe that two things are driving the need to do what this budget does. And the two things that are driving it are the way we evaluate whether our schools are succeeding or not in this state and in this nation and in this district. And it puts an emphasis on literacy, and it puts an emphasis on mathematics. And using that literacy and using those mathematics to do things such as science and civics lessons and social studies and those kinds of things becomes a secondary focus when the total focus of the value of the measurement system is tied to that. So I would challenge those that have come to testify tonight to stay involved with the board as the board moves into working, as it is working, on our results policy, where we define what it is that we think makes this district successful. And right now that is written in a way that while it's in there, science is not a major part of it. I would just encourage you to try to change the things that drive how the budget is developed. And the things that drive that is our results policy and our strategic plan. So stay involved and try to change the focus so that this becomes more important. The second reason that I think that this is being driven is because our state is underfunding education. It's just ridiculous to me that a district with 42,000 students in it cannot afford a social studies coordinator or a science coordinator. That's just nuts. And that's the truth. The Budget Committee worked hard on trying to find some place in this budget to break money free for some science folks, and I propose that it be a science folk and a social studies folk. But nobody could find a place that we felt like we could cut to get there. The only place we played with quite extensively was the idea of reducing the buffer, the contingency money, so that we could afford those folks. And even then, if the district we were to say to the district, what would you do if we freed up $100,000 from that contingency? What would you do with it? They weren't sure that the science would still rise to that level. So what I'm saying is, I agree. I was a biology teacher my first career. I totally get what you're saying about teaching science. I know because I've done the work about what it is like to be an elementary teacher trying to figure out how to teach kids science when you haven't got a strong science background. That's what those folks do, and we need them. We need them desperately. We need them for civics education, economics education. We need them for a lot of things. So get out there and try to convince our legislature to pass our revenue reform that they're messing around with right now. Get out there and do whatever you can to fix the funding problem, because that's what's driving this, along with how this district and the state and the nation measure education right now. So as I say, I will be holding my nose when I vote yes, but I'll vote yes because I think they've done the best job they can.
Other comments?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Marty?
I have a statement from
Oh, sorry.
Director Marty Hay, and she has contacted me, and she wants to state publicly that she believes that science is highly important and has an investment in that in the budget.
Other comments? Chuck?
You know, as former elementary school teacher who did not have a background in science, I really value the role that those specialists play. But I think Director Brantley really summed it up, our dilemma, very well. Chris, you'll be missed. You're very articulate. But I think that he did a great job kind of outlining the situation that we've got. For me, I'm a big supporter of CTE, and science is a pathway to CTE. And we need more CTE in the middle schools and the grade schools, and science is a part of that. But until we get adequate state funding, we're just not going to be able to do everything that needs to be done. So I'm going to support this budget, but again, not enthusiastically, but we went through an awful lot of process and work, and I'm going to respect that and vote for the budget as it stands.
I also am going to support this budget. It's difficult to serve on a school board for 8 years and cut budgets 6 times, to feel like the students and the teachers in front of those students are hampered every year by the decisions that we are forced to make because there aren't adequate funds being given to the schools in this state. At this moment, across town, a hearing is happening about a revenue reform process. I sent testimony in on that because I think it's essential. We do not have enough dollars. When we had budget hearings and John Yoder came and spoke to us, and he talked about how his daughter is in Virginia because she teaches art and we don't have art teachers in the elementary schools. I felt chastised by that, but our decision to not have art teachers doesn't have to do with the fact that we don't value art. It has to do with the fact that every time we take a specialist and put them into buildings, we're cutting a classroom teacher. And those are very difficult decisions. I think the Budget Committee was very clear about wanting conversations in the next year about how does science education look across the district. I think Chris is right. You need to stay engaged in those conversations. This is a difficult time to be voting on a budget that yet again is not adequate. But I don't think we have other options, so I will be supporting. Seeing no other comments, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The motion carries. The next resolution makes appropriations. Be it resolved that the amounts for the fiscal year 2017-18 beginning July 1, 2017 for the purposes shown below are hereby appropriated as shown below. I've been told I don't have to read those numbers. You all have them. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? Jim?
Madam Chair, I need to make the same potential declaration of a conflict of interest with regard to the resolution making appropriations as well.
Chuck?
I will too.
Chris?
No comment.
Comments? Marty, any comments?
No comment.
Sounds like we're ready to vote. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. The next resolution is the resolution imposing the tax. Be it resolved that the following ad valorem property taxes are hereby imposed for the tax year 2017-18 upon the assessed value of all taxable property within the district at the rate per thousand of assessed value of $4.5210 for permanent tax rate in the amount of $28,500,000 for the debt service for general obligation bonds. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? Mr. Green?
Madam Chair, again, I need to make the same potential conflict of interest announcement with regard to the imposing of the tax.
And Mr. Lee?
I need to declare a potential conflict of interest also.
Any other comments? Marty?
No.
All in favor of the resolution, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed? Abstentions? The motion carries. The next is a resolution categorizing the tax. Be it resolved that the taxes imposed for the tax year 2017-18 are hereby categorized for the purpose of Article 11, Section 11B, as shown below. Is there a motion?
So moved. I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? Jim?
In making sure that being as clear as we possibly can, I will be declaring another potential conflict of interest with regard to this as well.
And Mr. Lee?
And I also will be declaring a potential conflict of interest.
Other comments?
Just one final note. I'd like to, on the whole budget, not just the imposition of the tax and the categorizing of the tax and the spending plan, I'd like to echo what Chris said. I think we're all holding our nose. I think this is my 6th year on the school board, and 4 of those we've had to make cuts. So I'm at the same percentage you are, Madam Chair, with regard to that. Nobody likes doing this, and I'm hopeful that the actions going on down at the Capitol will bear fruit so that we don't have to do this on a going forward basis. But Chris, I think you said it best. We're going to hold our nose and do the best we can and trust our staff across the district to provide educational services to our boys and girls at the best we can, given where we're at.
Other comments? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? The motion carries. The next item on our agenda is approval of May 16th, 2017 school board election results for Marion and Polk counties. The school board is required by law to approve the final election results of the May county elections for 4 seats of the Salem-Keizer School Board. Zone 1, Kathy Goss. Zone 3, Sharon Blasey, got it wrong. Zone 5, Jesse Lippold, and Zone 7, Paul Kylo. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion?
I'm not sure, but I may need to declare a potential conflict as I have a negative financial impact in this decision.
Great. Thank you. Rick?
This is, I don't know, 5th or 6th time that I've sat at this dais and been involved in the process of approval of the election results. And I don't think the questions come up, or I can't remember, but I'm wondering from council, I realize it's a law that we approve it. What happens if a school board didn't approve the election results?
Well, under the Oregon elections law, you are a special district, which is governed by Chapter 255. And so the county clerks have to send to you the election results, and you put on your district elections authority hat, which is what the statute says you are for the school district, and you have to verify the results of the election and notify the county clerk that the candidates are qualified. That's your statutory duty. So, failing to do so would require a mandamus action from one or more candidates to force a district elections authority to do what they're statutorily required to do. So that's the short answer. Once the district elections authority, you, the school board, make that determination that these are the results and the candidates are qualified, that you send that back to the county clerk, and they issue a certificate of election to the candidates, which allows them to be sworn in. in the first meeting in July.
Thank you.
I think that was all just for education, so those of you out there don't need to sweat too much that we didn't plan to just certify this election.
I just have a quick comment. This is why we hire them for our lawyers. As far as I know, he was not told that question was coming, and he came up with that off his head. I'm impressed.
So is there a motion? Did I already get, I already got a motion? Thank you. Good to keep me on task here tonight. Is there any more discussion? All in favor of certifying the results signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Abstentions? Motion carries. Next action item is the 2018 general obligation bond proposal. I think you have a presentation at your seats, and I think probably we're going to have Mike Wolf come forward for this.
This is a follow-up from our last several meetings regarding a potential bond, so Mr. Wolf will fill you in on the next steps, where we are.
Yes, good evening, Superintendent Perry, Chair McMorris Oddix, and members of the board. This is a follow-up from our May 30th conversation and a recap of the presentation that you received with some updates. And so just as a reminder, we had our polling results which showed support for a bond that would be less than the total recommended amount by the task force of $766 million and would not increase the property tax levy rate by more than $2.50 per thousand of assessed value. And also that it includes a comprehensive package of needs. And that would include addressing overcrowding, CTE and science, seismic, safety and security, and also protecting the investment in our current facilities. And after hearing the presentation on the polling results, the board directed staff to develop the bond proposal, which we went over on the 30th, and wanted to just do a recap tonight for you. The proposal that we talked about on the 30th was organized slightly differently than the task force recommendations in order to align with the refined staff work that has been ongoing. The cost estimates that you see are based on significant refinement work by staff with the help of industry experts. You had 3 tables as part of your package on the 30th, and they were updated based on board comments. So you have the updated tables tonight, and then there's a 4th that's basically an overview of the task force recommendations and what is either included in the proposal or not included in the proposal, and we'll get to that later on in the presentation. So let's start with the largest category in the proposal. Just to recap, you can see that the $433.5 million number includes general education, CTE, and/or science classrooms at 38 schools. It includes a new elementary school, a repurposed elementary school to support early childhood education, a new location for the district's data center, likely at one of the high school additions, and a transportation facility to be proposed at property that the district currently owns. The breakdown is as follows. Work at the 38 schools, the data center, the repurposed elementary school, which allows the district to reduce future lease costs, is approximately $378.2 million. Only 4 of the middle schools would receive classroom additions, and that would be Houck, Judson, Stevens, and Waldo. The new elementary school is costed out at approximately $42 million, and the transportation facility is a little over $13 million. Tables 2 and 3 provide more detailed information on those projects. I'd like to move to the seismic work. This proposal includes the $56 million from the task force recommendation to address identified structures assessed to be of a very high risk of collapse, potential collapse during a maximum earthquake event, which would be the Cascadia event in this area. The proposal also includes an additional $10 million to strengthen the design standards to immediate reoccupancy for any additions or new facilities in the proposal. This additional investment would provide safe buildings in each of the feeder systems, including at each of the 6 comprehensive high schools as well. And again, tables 2 and 3 in the far right columns give you more additional information on that. You can see the safety and security investment of $33 million addresses card access system upgrade at 46 schools and 16 support sites, intercom system upgrade at 58 schools, and front office security relocations or renovations at 34 schools, 17 each, 17 relocates and 17 renovations. We also have the non-routine maintenance dollars, includes work that will be needed in the future, such as replacement of roofs, HVAC systems, and flooring systems, to name a few. And these expenditures are intended to protect the investment in our facilities. And then Technology and Americans with Disability Act, you can see that the proposal expands and enhances the wireless networks throughout the district, creates classroom infrastructure upgrades, such as moving from ceiling-mounted projectors to wireless projection screens, and adds cooling and power for our network closets throughout the district, and also provides resources to make gains towards addressing ADA issues in our outdated restrooms and general access of our facilities. And so the total is 619, the proposal, and we would consider this a base proposal for the 2018 bond, is $619.2 million, and that would be an estimated increase of the levy rate between $1.28, this is updated information from our last meeting, and $1.39 of assessed value, depending on future municipal bond rates. So essentially what we're doing is we're looking out into the future, into May, and either adjusting interest rates to increase a full percentage of where they are now, or 1.5%, and that describes the difference between the $1.28 or the $1.39. If interest rates don't rise at all, those numbers would change. Our recommendation is also to go for the May 2018 election. We think based on the advice and recommendations from, or at least the information that was presented by our polling consultants, that there's a much greater chance of success in a May election, even though we feel we have strong support for a November. So that's a difference between where the task force recommendation landed, which was November of 17, and in the staff proposal, which is May of 18. And May of 18 also gives staff time to continue to refine the work of the proposal and also engage the new board, which starts in July as well. And then this is basically the table 4 that you have. But I wanted to reiterate that the recommendations of the task force, which was a phenomenal piece of work, represented a critical step in the overall long-range facility planning process. And we're at the point now where the task force recommendations, the bond feasibility study results, and ongoing staff work come together to help inform you in determining the next steps. So it's important to know how the proposal differs from the task force recommendations. And like I said, you have that in table 4, but I'd like to go over it just briefly for you. Again, the first thing is May 2018 recommendation as opposed to the November 17. What isn't in the 2018 bond proposal is the high-risk structures for potential collapse as identified in the task force. What remains is the very high-risk structures. 6 middle school additions have been removed from the task force recommendations, but 4 remain. And the removal of the consolidation of the support buildings, all support buildings, into one facility has been removed. What's different is there's enhanced seismic design for all new construction in the proposal. There's 2 CTE classrooms at Roberts High School planned. Non-routine maintenance of support buildings has been clearly identified in the proposal, and a transportation facility as well. There's also reduced non-maintenance of schools and a reduction in the ADA from the original task force recommendations. And so I also wanted to go ahead and brief up the board with a little background on the seismic process, because I know that that's an important conversation. But before I do that, I'd like to know if there were any questions on the base proposal.
Paul?
Just quickly, Mike, I want to make sure I understood. Under the middle schools, it looks like we're adding 14 science classrooms. That's as a part of the proposal?
Yes, and you're
And-
on table 3.
Table 3, and we're looking at renovating 13 and adding 14?
Yes, if you
Yes.
add those numbers together.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
in the
what works out.
column.
And then of the 108 classrooms that we're looking at adding at the high schools, do you know how many of those were science classrooms? I can't remember.
I don't offhand. I have a different chart.
Okay.
But not this one.
Okay.
That describes all of that.
Okay.
Were the classrooms that were being added, my memory is that they were either CTE or science at the high school level. Is that an inaccurate memory?
No. We know that in the additions, now remember, in the
Yeah.
high school, we're talking about 6 additions.
Yes.
That will have classrooms, and that's where the CTE classrooms will definitely go. And then it really depends on where the existing science rooms are in the schools and whether it would be better to renovate those or add new ones in the additions. So we don't have that level of detail.
Yeah, I mean, I know that it was proposed during the task force that there be 4 science classrooms added at North, for example.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, okay, thank you.
Other questions? Seeing none, it sounds like you're going to talk to us about the seismic needs identification process.
Yeah, just briefly, you should have a memorandum on the seismic needs identification process, and I'll briefly walk you through that in this slide. And I'd like to start with the Citizens Facility Task Force, which recommended seismic upgrades to school component structures rated very high or high risk for potential collapse during a maximum considered earthquake event, which would be the 9.0 in our area. And this recommendation was based on analysis provided by our engineers, MCS engineers, utilizing the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA's guidelines for rapid visual screening of buildings for potential seismic hazards. And the latest edition is 2015. But I also want to take you back in time a little bit and talk about the RVS, the Rapid Visual Screening process, a bit. And the purpose behind it allows for the identification and prioritization of structures that require more detailed analysis to determine specific strengthening work necessary for the structure to perform to life safety seismic standards. And what that means at that performance level is that a building would sustain substantial damage in an earthquake, but remain stable enough to provide occupants the opportunity to exit the structure. That's the standard that we build schools to. And that's what upgrading these structures, that would be the purpose of doing that, right? So that staff and students can exit. In the 2005-2007 biennium, the Oregon Department of Geology and Mineral Industries, or DGAMI, used a modified version of the FEMA guidelines to develop an enhanced RVS methodology called ERVS. And that methodology has also been used and integrated into the Oregon Seismic Rehabilitation Grant Program. And actually, Oregon's effort has been called out by FEMA as a best practice in the country. And so it's a solid process. The use of the RVS process on all district schools has resulted in the creation of 2 categories for these component structures. Those that are expected to have acceptable seismic performance and those that may be seismically hazardous and should be studied further. And that's exactly what we're doing with the very high-risk structures, and that's also where the high-risk structures come in. Now, once you get into further study and analysis of these component structures, they may actually prove to be adequate. But again, the rapid visual screening process is intended, as an example, to take a look at 100 buildings and quickly assess the 70 that you might have concerns with. So you don't have to focus on the 30 that this process doesn't identify. And then you get into further refinement of those 70, and that's essentially what we're doing. So what you'll notice is that these component structures are listed as school sites, but may not be the entire school. For example, Cummings Elementary School has 10 separate component structures listed from low to very high risk of potential collapse. So we don't typically talk about them as the whole school, but it's the component structures at a school site. And as the district continues with more detailed engineering analysis, which will include consideration of the specific work accomplished in the 2008 bond with our repair and renovation work, because we did seismically strengthen when we repaired a roof and replaced a roof. We strengthened that structurally. When we had repaired and replaced windows, we added shear walls throughout the district. So we have been systematically strengthening our structures seismically. All of that will be taken into account as we develop specific scopes of work to bring the very high-risk structures up to the life safety standard and performance level. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of background about what the very high-risk structures mean, how they got identified through the rapid visual screening process, and then the work that the district continues to do to refine the estimates to bring those structures to the life safety performance standard. Any questions?
Questions? So the board has in front of it staff recommendation that we accept the 2018 general obligation bond proposal at $619.2 million as a baseline for further board discussions, staff work, public outreach efforts. And May 2018 is the recommended election for the bond ballot measure. Is there a motion?
So moved.
It's been moved by Chris. Second by Rick. Is there discussion? Jim?
So I still have some concerns about this being the right number. I don't know if it's too high. I don't know if it's too low. Obviously, it's too low when we want 766 to do the work that we really need, but I'm torn on how to vote for this, given that. I support it. I want our work to go forward on our schools, but I want to make sure it passes, because you only get so many shots at these things. If you fail, you know, we've learned from other school districts in the city that you got to come back for less. So I guess one of the concerns I would have is if we move forward at this number, I'd like to see this number polled, because a poll is a snapshot in time, and we took a snapshot in time at a pretty good economic time. 766 was a bridge too far for folks to go, but they talked about a rate that they could support. I think we need to get additional information about where we're going to go with the rate on a per thousand basis, and ask them, do they support the changes that we made between the two, to see if we can do that. I don't think it precludes us from doing that. I don't think this action precludes us from doing that. I think it gives the opportunity for the new board, as of July 1, to take a look at this and ask our voters in Salem-Keizer if they continue to support this and what it looks like on a going forward basis. I just want to make sure it passes. I want to make sure we do the right thing for our taxpayers and, more importantly, for our students and our staff. I think we are, but I want to make sure we get this right. I think one of the steps in getting it right was to postpone it until May, so that we can build a campaign around it and ask our voters and do the outreach through the community that we need to do to ensure that they understand the work that needs to be done and that they support it. So I guess I'm going to support this tonight with the hopes that we can poll this, take a look at it more fully, give the new board the opportunity also to review it, and do significant outreach to our community. Because if we're going to win, it's going to take a significant campaign. This is a big ask of our taxpayers in this state, in this city. We're doubling, forget about Keizer there. Careful. We're asking them to double their rate per thousand. That's a big ask. So I'm hopeful that as we move forward, we can gather additional data that'll help make the information for the new board even more informed than what we're sitting here tonight.
Paul?
My only concern, I'll support it, my only, and having been on the task force, my only concern was that there wasn't a great deal of classroom staff input into what was needed. I know you went to the principals, and I expressed my concern when I heard that before, so I'm saying it for the future process. Maybe we need to go a little deeper.
And if I might, we will. That's
Yeah.
it's part of the individual site work and planning that happens.
Yeah.
And it can't happen without
I understand,
teacher
and
voice.
I got it. I just want to make sure it happens.
Okay.
Chris?
Just a little counsel for the next board. One of the things that I think is really true, and it goes directly, I actually watched the May 30th meeting, and I saw your impassioned plea, Jim, for doing what you just were talking about. And I agree with you that we need to know, or that you guys, I can't put we in it anymore, but you guys are going to need to know that there is support out there. The counsel that I would give, however, is that I think before you do that, you need to start the campaign before you do the poll. In other words, somehow the word needs to get out to the community what the current situation is, so people recognize the need before you start polling about fixing the need. I really believe that people see kids go into schools every day, and they see kids come out of school every day, and unless they got kids in there talking about sitting on the counter because there's no chair for them in their high school health class, they don't recognize that inside that school it's packed and that there needs to be more room. So I would recommend some sort of a community outreach to educate the public before you actually decide on what the final number's going to be and do that polling, so that people come into the polling having heard something about the actual need.
Other comments? Rick?
Yeah, I just wanted it to come across pretty clear, and I think Chris just hit on it. This isn't a final vote on a bond title and an amount, so the public should understand that. This is a vote to continue forward with the process, and I'm going to be supporting that tonight.
I'm going to be supporting it also to the extent that I'm going to work really hard to get it passed. So that's a commitment. I guess I'm going to have free time after this. So other comments? Marty?
Nope.
All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Thank you.
I think it would be nice to reflect that that was unanimous.
Was it?
What?
Okay. When you said opposed, I heard Marty say aye.
No, no, no.
Oh.
She said aye, and then I said opposed.
There's a lag time on that.
Haven't
Yeah.
been there, there's a lag time on
There's a lag.
It's, you know, the phone system, it comes a long, long ways. Those little mice are scurrying to get the.
Got it.
Next thing on the agenda is board policy work. Christie.
All right, this is your second reading on the board policy work, and I'll let you know what has changed since the last time. We went ahead and put the equity lens in the board governance policies as suggested. So the BG2 is now the equity lens, which has caused us to renumber all the other policies in that section. And then under academic achievement, R2, which was R3 last time, is now R2. As a result of the discussion, we did some changing of the wording and ordering in numbers 4, 5, and 6. And other than that, there are no changes since last time.
Want a motion before we talk about it?
Yeah, is there a motion?
I'll move adoption as presented of these changes in our results, all of our policies, actually.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion?
I just want to speak real briefly, Madam Chair. The work on the equity lens was pretty directed work by this board and the staff. I want to thank Linda Myers for her work on that. This is new for us. It's going to take purposeful work on behalf of the board and the staff, that the work we do on a going forward basis, we put through the equity lens to address the needs of our citizens and our community across our district. I thank you, Madam Chair, because the work began with the resolution that you wanted to bring forward with regard to our community and giving them some peace of mind as we move forward in these challenging times. I just want you to know that this will be purposeful work, it'll be directed work, but it's going to be hard work too. And I know that our superintendent and our staff are up to it, and I really want to thank them for their efforts on the equity policy. Also, the work of the board, I mean, we spent 4 work sessions doing this, so it wasn't done lightly, and it was time for Salem-Keizer School District to put this into our policy, so the decisions we make, directives we give to staff are run through that, so we address our communities within the Salem-Keizer School District.
Chris?
My comments have to do with the results policy. I bet everybody's terribly surprised by that. The reason I say that for the audience is because throughout my tenure on this board, that's been one of the things that I've wanted to talk a lot about is the results policy for the very reason that I mentioned earlier during the budget discussion. The 3.4, or is it 4 or 3.4? I guess
It's 4.
I guess it's 4 and 5. That are new ideas in the thing, say that the superintendent's going to develop a data system to start monitoring some things that haven't been heretofore fully monitored. I think they collect some data on it, but they're going to make that purposeful and start really watching it. I was reading an article the other day in Ed Week where they were discussing the idea of, do we fully measure career readiness? We all talk about college and career readiness, and the question that they were dealing with is that our Smarter Balance tests, or in other states, the PARCC tests, do a pretty good job of starting to look at college readiness, their literacy rate, those kinds of things. But do we really look at what it means to be career ready and measure those kinds of skills and attributes? And I know out at our career tech facility that they are now working with something that they're not calling them soft skills, they're calling them professional skills. They're talking about the kinds of things that people have in their repertoire to make them able to succeed and communicate and work within a work environment. And those are the kinds of things that that sometimes I think we ought to be doing more looking at, and those are the things we're criticized for quite often by business. And so I would suggest that as you develop that you think about, in addition to the things that are already listed, what are some of those attributes that we could be giving students feedback on, giving parents feedback on about their students in terms of their ability to walk out of our schools and into a civic situation, a work situation. I think civics is a big part of being work ready. And start asking those kinds of questions. So my counsel to the audience who would like to see a focus in a different place, I hope that work goes forward. I hope this is the beginning of that work. And as I say, I've been wanting to see it for 8 years, and I'm very glad to see it starting.
Other comments? I will just add that this has been an enormous priority of mine, and I appreciate the willingness of the board to come repeatedly to the table to iron out language and have a trial run on the equity lens around some policies. I'm excited about the expansion in the results policy, and I would like to point out that item 4 talks about the development of a data system, and it, I think, makes some suggestions about things that could be in there, but that is not, I think we're leaving it to the superintendent to look at what needs to be in that list. So I think that should lead to some good conversations in the coming year, but I will be voting in favor of these changes. Marty, anything to add?
Nope.
All in favor of the revisions to the board policies signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries, again, unanimously. Next thing on the agenda is the adoption of the consent calendar. Typically, we adopt them all as a single motion unless someone needs to pull something for special consideration. Does anything need to be pulled? Seeing none, I'll take a motion.
Move adoption of the consent calendar.
It's been moved and seconded for adoption of the consent calendar. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. We have no readings tonight. Next thing on the agenda is the monitoring report, EL 12, legally required policies. Superintendent Perry. This is a riveting.
This is a riveting
EL.
one, and I'm going to read it word for word because it's some of your last board meetings and your last EL ever. So I think you should hear it word for word, but I won't. I won't do that. So this is our legally required policies, executive limitation. And if you look on the second page of it, there's some evidence of compliance, and we added the areas where we added policy work that was legally required. In addition, I wanted to point out, so I put it in here, that we did adopt an equity policy internally, even though that's not a legally required policy. It was adopted before your equity lens, but it is reflective of the work you want us to complete. So I wanted to be sure to outline that. We did not have any evidence of compliance.
I'll remind the board that these are, these executive limitation reports make up the superintendent's valuation. We usually signify acceptance by thumbs up. So I think we have that. Next thing on the agenda is the report on 2017 graduation.
I'll just do a quick overview of our graduation this year. I think all of you attended at least one or more graduations. In addition on this report, in addition to all of our graduates and our GED completers, we do emphasize not just the high school diploma, but completion. And when you think about 108 students that completed their GED, that signifies significant work by staff and also work by those students who re-engaged to complete. So I want to point that out. In addition, we've started putting a greater emphasis on the Oregon State Seal of Biliteracy, and we did have 49 students that received the seal of biliteracy. And in addition, I just want to thank our high school administrative staff and teachers, because the push to graduation is a full court press in the tiredest time of the fourth quarter for our high school staff and our administrators. And I know that there were kids still working on their essential skills on probably the day of graduation, and our staff and our administrators stuck it out. In addition, they just put such great attention to the graduation ceremony that's very honoring for our kids and our families. So with that, that's my graduation report. On the second page, you have all of the valedictorians and salutatorians, and I won't read all their names.
Great. Chris?
I asked this question at agenda prep, and I want Christy to answer it publicly. The question is, why is it that McKay High School, where we know we have a large number of kids who have dual language in their backgrounds, does not have any biliteracy seals?
So I'm going to state for you why the other schools do have more of the biliteracy seals, especially at North Salem and West Salem, which are dual language schools. There's that really great attention to the seal of biliteracy, and we have staff that champion that. So our next step in this work is to begin finding that pathway within McKay High School and that champion within McKay High School to really begin that work. So that's the reason.
The key word in her response, I thought, was the champion. There are apparently a staff member in each of the schools where there are seals of biliteracy that make sure kids do what they need to do to get them.
Correct.
And that just hasn't been developed yet in some of our high schools.
Correct.
Chuck?
I'll just add, I had a chance to talk with the CTEC principal, John Honey, the day before yesterday. 98% of the CTEC seniors graduated.
Wow. Impressive. Next thing on our agenda is the information of upcoming meetings. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your view, the board has a 5 p.m. executive session on June 27th for an expulsion appeal, and then a school board meeting afterwards.
Yeah, and we may or may not have anything on the agenda for a school board meeting. We'll also do a poll to see the availability of board members on that day, to be sure that we have a quorum for the appeal. And I'd feel really bad if the last thing you do is an expulsion appeal, but I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm begging that we not have to do that, but that's the job that we all paid the big bucks to do, so.
We paid the big bucks to do it?
I think that's how it goes. We paid the big bucks to do it. Next thing on the agenda is audience communication on non-agenda items. Is there? Looks like we have a couple of people. Phil Bogat and Mindy Merritt. I'm failing in my duties here. I'm supposed to tell you to limit your comments to 3 minutes, and please give us your address for the record.
Okay. My name is Phil Bogat. My address is 2849 Mayfly Avenue Northwest, Salem, 97304. And I'm here representing West Salem High Lacrosse Club as the president of the club. And as part of my testimony, I'm asking for an agenda item in the future that the board would please consider changing the club sports and club activities from Class B to Class A. The difference being some of the costs and issues that are defined by Class A versus Class B. First, I wanted to discuss, related to your, in here, everybody's going to get a package, but it shows what the definitions are of district-sponsored activities as Class A. Class B would be a youth-sponsored activity, such as Pop Warner Little League, but we want to emphasize that these are students that attend the high schools and want to participate in an activity like lacrosse or water polo at these high schools. The mission of the district is partnering with the community, and the vision, of course, is trying to coordinate and be prepared for success in life. And putting it through the equity lens, one of the questions, or the primary first question, is how it aligns with the district vision and mission, and what are some of the barriers. Financially, it's a question that needs to be asked, but we're not asking, we're self-funding and not asking for money. We're just asking that you remove some of the obstacles of charging our clubs to participate in activities on their campus. The next page is a fee structure of what these charges might be. Our club in particular pays approximately $2,000 to $3,000 per season to practice and play at West Salem High School. That is prohibitive and causes some issues. A couple of the other topics that come up might be, who are we servicing? We're serving the boys and the girls. We're providing sportsmanship, work ethic, and integrity. We offer scholarships to kids that can't afford to pay. We are self-funded, as I mentioned, and our student athletes tend to stay engaged and graduate. We had a student athlete this year who was valedictorian at West and an academic All-American. So they really put in the work. One of the other issues that came up, we were told by the director of high school education for Salem-Keizer Public Schools that all future fields would not be lined for lacrosse even if we paid for them ourselves. I don't understand why that would be the case. If we're willing to pay for it, why not line them? Lacrosse is growing significantly. Willamette University will be fielding a women's varsity team in 2019. It's the fastest growing sport in the United States. So there's a lot of reasons why this is a sport that's coming. Club sports, we were told also, cannot hang a banner for a championship in the school, cannot display a trophy in the school. I'm not quite sure why that is the case either. An example here, West Lynn High School, on their website shows the, on spring sports, it lists baseball, track, boys lacrosse, then you link to the lacrosse webpage. And on that webpage, it talks about the team itself and their success. 11 All-Americans. They've continued their careers in college at Division I, II, and Division III levels, and that they have been a Tier 1 school-sponsored sport since 2008. So we're not OSAA sanctioned, but we would like that to be at least sponsored by the school. The schools currently sponsor at West Salem High 26 clubs, including Balloon Club, but you're unwilling to sponsor lacrosse, which services quite a few boys and girls. When you click on the link for club sports like lacrosse, the first disclaimer on the website says the below club sports teams are not sponsored or funded by West Salem High. The school provides the name only. West Salem does not control the information on the club website. So just gives you an idea of where we stand compared to other areas around the state. In closing, I just want you to consider adding this to an agenda item and considering it for the future. We want to thank you tonight for that and consideration of moving it from a Class A to, or Class B to a Class A activity. Thank you.
Thank you. Mindy Merritt.
Hello. Superintendent Perry, Board Chair McMorris Addix, Vice Chair Paul Kylo, and members of the board. My name is Mindy Merritt, and I reside at 2381 Teal Drive, Southeast, and I'm here tonight as the president of Salem-Keizer Education Association. This being the last regularly scheduled school board meeting of the school year, I would like to say thank you. Thank you for your time and your energy, ensuring that our students remain the focal point of the decisions that are made and the work that needs to be done. Thank you for listening. Listening to our educators who never stop advocating for what is right for our students. Thank you for taking the time to understand, to ask those questions. Why? What will the implication of this be? Chair McMorris Addix, Director Brantley, and Director Kimball. As board members, you have navigated, with the others, the district through difficult conversations, changes, and budgetary shortfalls. You've celebrated students, educators, and community members, and you brought us Superintendent Perry. As you transition off of this board, I would like to personally thank you, to recognize that you are leaving behind a legacy from the work that you have begun and that will continue to be done to ensure that the voices of our students are heard. Thank you for beginning the work around equity and the approval of the Safe and Welcoming Schools Resolution. Thank you again for your time and your commitment to our future. Thank you.
Next thing on the agenda is board report on activities. Anybody done anything?
Nope.
This hour?
Chuck?
Since our last board meeting, I get a real sense of pleasure reminding everyone the great job that the Liebold family does out in Keizer. They had their turnaround awards, and I believe it was either the 20th or the 25th year that they've been doing this. So special thanks to Don Liebold and his wife, and the great job that they do recognizing students in our district who have really turned their lives around. Also had the opportunity to go to McKay and witness the groundbreaking for the turf field out there. I think that's the last 6A school to have a turf field, and that was a big day for them, and we really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Others?
Yep.
No, nobody went to any
Marty said
graduations?
something.
Marty said yes.
Marty?
Yes. I was also at the McKay groundbreaking, but of course the most exciting thing is shaking hundreds of hands and congratulating the kids that are walking across the stage. And of course, this year I had the thrill of handing my own son his diploma, and it was just awesome.
Great. That's always the highlight for me of this work, is to get to go to graduation and see those kids. I'm always so impressed with how respectful they are and how when you hand them their diploma, they say thank you. It's just always a wonderful event. I went to Teen Parents in early college along with Marty. Made a commitment to one of my patients that if she walked while I was on the school board, I would be there, and by gum, she made it. So it was pretty exciting for me. Of course, South has the best graduation in the city, so I got to go there again.
You haven't been to a McNary graduation yet.
Let's get going. Yeah. Anyway, I am going to just take a few minutes, if I can get through it, to say thank you to this board. I guess I can't get through it. It has really been a pleasure to serve with you. We've had difficult conversations, have not always agreed, but we've always been respectful. I think we have tried always to come back to the focus on the kids and what's best for them. I want to acknowledge the administration that has come alongside us and helped us through this process to look at equity. Again, something that was very important to me. I will always remember Kelly as the director of high schools coming to us and talking to us about the importance of understanding that all means all when we're talking about the success of our kids. And I would never have disagreed that I thought all meant all, but that day I really understood it and have worked hard since then to make sure that in each of my endeavors that all meant all. I'd like to say thank you to Neil. Maybe he's not here anymore.
You left.
He left. Anyway, to publicly acknowledge his efforts. He's done quite a bit in the district, and he will be missed as he moves off to Colorado. And to Christy Brooks Lathers, who is moving on to happy retirement, I hope. The board would like to thank you for your efforts in herding cats. We have a small token of our appreciation for you. I think I'm,
Okay, I don't have any comments because I'm gonna let Rick talk. You guys are gonna make me cry.
yeah.
So,
Okay, I'll try to keep you from doing that.
if you would, Rick, please.
So I got the chance to go to 3 graduations this year. I attended community transitions, which if you haven't been to that yet, you should fold it into your career on the school board, because it's one of the best graduations we have. That was back on, I believe, May 25th. And then I attended Robert's graduation at the Elsinore Theater. That's always a great event. And I joined Nancy at South Salem High to find out what that was all about. I never did make McNary. I'm sorry about that, Chuck, but
It'll be there every year.
yeah. Now, also, I want to echo Nancy's comments as far as serving with this board. It's been a pleasure. And you mentioned, Nancy, how respectful it's been, how the dialogue's been, and a good team to work with. And I've worked with 6 iterations of this board, 13 different community members, and all those boards have been that way. That's a good thing for this community. Salem-Keizer should be proud of the individuals that joined this school board. Is a good working team together. It takes a while to think for things to mesh when you have new individuals, and it'll be a challenge for the new board with three new members. But in 2005, when I joined the board, 4 new members joined, 3 existing ones, and we managed to make it as a team. We hired a superintendent, Sandy Husk, who did a great job of getting the direction of the district in line and things moving forward. And everybody on this team, except Marty wasn't with us at that time, hired Christy Perry as superintendent. So I've been really proud of my time on the board, and I want to thank you all.
Chris?
I can only echo those. I can't say much more than the previous two short-timers have said. I can say that as I left for this meeting tonight, I said to my wife, you know, there's some really important things on the agenda tonight and some things that are just getting started and whatever. And sometimes I wonder if I was right in deciding that 2 terms was enough. But then I talked to Rick, and he talks about the 3rd term as being a really long 4 years after already having served 8. And I think in fairness to the community, it's time for people to move on after a certain number of years at this job. So I can't really add much. I agree that it's been challenging, it's been fun at times, it's been a really cool 8 years. I can't say much more than that. So thank you all. If you need me for anything, give me a call. I have lots of time on my hands now.
I think that, did you already make your comments? Superintendent Perry, do you have any comments?
What could I say? But you guys have been pretty amazing, and you transitioned to a leader that was a different leader, and you accepted me for a different style, and we have accomplished some really big things in 3 years. And lots of people, when they get to the end of a time with something, would get short timers. But to do the equity work in your final year of your term in office or terms in office is a big darn deal. So thanks for hanging in on that really hard work in this last year. And I have to tell you, Rick Kimball, you took me on a car ride on the superintendent search between 2 places, and I will never remember that day. It was just this quiet leader that I was sitting next to, just wasn't even saying much. He was just, I think he was just trying to get me to talk
You think
on
you
the way.
might never forget it or never remember it?
I like the first way she said it.
Yeah, never forget it. I will never forget it. It was just this moment in time. So I do want to say thank you, and you have been great champions of the district and our kids.
Chair McLemore's Audix, may I please say a word?
Because we're all.
Why not?
I never get to speak.
You never get to speak.
I just wanted to say it's been my honor and my pleasure to work with you all the last 6 or so years that I have been the assistant to the school board, and I just appreciate all the good work you've done.
I want the audience to see your crown.
Oh.
She got a crown as a reward.
Camera.
Yeah.
So
She's already had a
before,
picture taken.
I have to give you some context.
Oh, dear.
Before Christy Brooks Lathers came to us, we used to each year approve a proclamation for Education Professionals Week and Education Support Professionals Week. And we did it each year after the week was over. And she wanted me to knit her a crown, and I said I would do it if she could get us to do those proclamations actually before they happened. And she did right away, and I've owed her this crown for all this time.
So she gets it upon leaving. Put it on.
Love that
So
crown.
I think with that, we are adjourned.